is the Business of Reselling podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Oman. Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. It is the first episode of season 3, so episode 37 of the Business of Reselling podcast. Welcome to season 3. It is 2024, and this is the first episode of the year. I have a forward-looking episode today to set a productive and positive tone for the year. Kind of similar to one I did last year, just looking forward into 2024, talking about what I accomplished and failed to accomplish last year and what I'd like to do with Storage Warrior this year. And I hope that gets you thinking about how you plan to treat your own reselling business this year and thinking about what your goals and objectives might be. So it's that kind of episode, and I hope you like it. Before we get into that, I do want to give you a little update on the business. So this kind of feeds into some of the goals I've set for 2024, and honestly, I was late putting together my objectives, and I'm sort of glad that I didn't try to do it until maybe about a week ago, because we ended up with a really cool sourcing opportunity that happened just before Christmas. It's not exactly formalized, and we're still trying to figure out how to exactly we're going to be working with each other, but it has been working out really great so far. And this is a company that's big, a lot bigger than us, and they go through literal tons of stuff going through their facilities every single day. And so we have been able to gain access to that stuff, which is very exciting. And so we're sort of figuring out how best to incentivize each other to make this sort of partnership, if you want to call it that, work. And I'm really excited about how it's going and hope to be able to share more details about it with you. But it really did affect the way that we were thinking about what we want to do with the business this year, and in a really positive and happy way. So that's great. And I'm going to get into that in a little bit more when I talk about our specific goals. We also have some more estate clearouts happening, which is awesome. So I did some search engine optimization work on our website, but it was probably 2 or 3 years ago that I did that in order to try and get people to call us to do estate clearouts. And I thought I had failed at doing that because nobody was calling us. But over the last few months, more and more people have been, and they've been saying they're finding us through Google looking for estate liquidation and clear out services, and they're calling us up. So that's fantastic. We are on our third estate clear out since last September, and really enjoying the process of, kind of performing the work of the junk hauler in the sense of like getting the entire house empty, but doing it in, a way that obviously brings inventory into our business, costs the client a lot less, and respects their stuff by making sure that good things don't get thrown in the landfill. So our clients are really enjoying that process, and it seems to be feeding into new business. So we have these two things going, and those are some of the reasons I'm pretty excited about what's going on with Storage Warrior this year. We have a lot of momentum that we're starting to build. We're pretty motivated, and the first few days of the year yielded excellent sales, just basically due to the work that we're putting in. So that's great. I also have the new eBay store review service that I've just launched through the podcast. If you've been listening for a while, then you know that I was planning to introduce this service for 2024, and I ran a contest at the end of last year where I gave away a free review of somebody's eBay store. And that's just a process where I'm going in, I'm looking at your store on the front end from a customer's perspective, all of your different policies, the way that you present your store, your product mix, your pricing, shipping policies, returns, and that kind of thing. And then also on the back end, analyzing average selling price, traffic statistics, or whatever other back end data the person is willing to share with me to give some insight into how they can improve their store if they have the goal of scaling up, or just refining their store, or raising their average selling price, or whatever it may be. So I've already had a couple people reach out to me to ask for that service, and that's very exciting because I have not even created a sales page for it yet. but you can still buy it if you want. So that's going to be $150 US for the eBay store review. I don't have the sales page yet. I need to set that goal for this month to get a sales page up and running. So for now, if you're interested in having me personally review your eBay store and give you some suggestions on how you can improve it, you can request a store review by email. That's the easiest way. And that email is hello@storagewarrior.ca. They take 3 business days for me to get back to you. And so, yeah, if you're interested or if you have questions, just send me an email and we'll take it from there. All right. Okay. So, thinking about goal setting, I think a lot of people have sort of bigger goals than they can realistically achieve. And one of the things I spoke about last year on the podcast when I did a similar episode was that you can't just set a goal for yourself and then just kind of hope that you'll get there just by sheer hard work. You can't just set a goal. You need to develop habits and processes that help you build closer to that goal. And then once you achieve it, then you have to develop new systems and new processes to be able to achieve a bigger one. So I'll link again to my inspiration for that previous episode as well as this one, which is the book Atomic Habits by James Clear in the show notes. So you can sort of look at some of his philosophies on how we should set goals and how we should look at goal setting from more of a systems perspective, which I just absolutely love. So I started thinking back on last year and what the goals I had set for 2023 were. And it's funny. I think it's important to revisit goals throughout the year, measure your progress, and adapt them as needed. In order to do that, you need to write them down, put them somewhere visible, or set a notification in your calendar to do a goal review meeting. If you don't do that, then it's easy to lose sight of what you're trying to achieve. And I have to admit that I was guilty of that a little bit last year. I did have a couple of my objectives kind of floating around in my head all year long, so I didn't just like forget everything, but I had to go back and listen to my goal setting episode from last year to see if there was anything that I missed. Fortunately, there wasn't too much, but I had 3 major goals for 2023. The first one was podcast related. I wanted to expand, the channel, the YouTube channel, to 1,000 subscribers. I did not achieve that because I didn't develop a strong system to get there. I did implement some more regular content production. I did get better at producing thumbnails. I did get a little faster at video editing and started to ease into the process of creating more content, but I didn't start to get comfortable with it sort of until the fall. So I was only able to add a couple of hundred subscribers over the course of the year. But I'm feeling like I'm starting to develop the habit of content creation. I'm not thinking after the fact, oh, I should have created a video about that. I'm going in, doing the video, and then if I think I could turn it into something interesting, I'm actually doing it. So trying to put out content 2 or 3 times per week. I think I would have gotten to my 1,000 subscriber goal if I had done that and started doing it earlier in the year. I didn't. So I'm going to set the exact same goal again. and this time I'm going to think more about my systems, and I have some systems in place. I'm going to work on building those and refining them and hopefully getting to that 1,000 subscribers. It's just a nice round number. It's the point at which I can start to look at monetizing the channel, so it's a good goal to try and work towards. My second one was to create a small product to sell. So I did that with the eBay store review, and I'm happy about it. I achieved it, but not until right at the end of the year. And this is so typical of me. I work the best with my back against the wall. If I say I'm going to do something by a certain time, I have a tendency to leave it not until like right at the last minute, but pretty close. And then I give myself like just enough time to get it done. that's just kind of how I operate, and it's the way I've accepted that I am. When I was in university, I would, if there was an essay due the next day, I was doing an English lit degree. That was my first degree, and so I wrote a lot of essays. And if I had an essay due the next morning, it would never be done the night before. I would never have it finished. Of course, none of my classmates would either, and my classmates would be staying up all night to try and finish it, and I would go to bed and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do it the morning that it was due. And that was how I learned to work productively. I'm also a morning person, so that worked well for me. But I learned, way back in university that I can work very well and very productively when a deadline is super imminent. And so it looks like I treated my eBay store review product the exact same way. That's okay. I did it. It's check done. I'm happy. And that service is rolled out. I just need the sales page for it. The third was to be more involved with green and circular economy initiatives. So it's important to me as a business owner to be environmentally responsible. We're proud of all of the things that we keep out of the landfill. We're proud to rescue junk just before it goes into the garbage. We try to do that a lot, but I wanted to be more public about that kind of mandate. And I did okay with this, although one of the ways that I thought I would begin to get involved with these initiatives was to attend more networking events and get involved with more other business owners locally. And honestly, it's been really hard to find networking events. COVID kind of killed the in-person networking event, and they haven't bounced back in a significant way, at least not in Vancouver. And I'm zoomed out. I can't do it. I can't do Zoom meetings ever again. And I don't feel like you create as good of a human connection usually through Zoom meetings either. So I kind of stayed away from online networking events. But once I did get involved in some in-person business networking, we got partnership right away. And I made some strong connections right away with people and even met a few individuals who had junk that they were trying to get rid of. So I think last year I wasn't specific enough about what exactly I wanted to do in this arena, but simply exploring a few different ideas, talking to a few different companies, and just kind of just speaking more candidly about that being an important part of my business and kind of letting everybody know that has helped me move ahead. So this year, I want to do something very specific, and that's I want to have drop-off events where people bring their stuff to get rid of, and in exchange for their items, we make a donation to a nonprofit organization. Binner's Project is one of my favorites, so maybe I can do something with that, or other environmental-related nonprofits could also be an option. I kind of got this idea through seeing. There's some like strata corporations and strata buildings that have like a free day where everybody can just bring things out into the carport to declutter their apartments, and then they haul it all away, but they haul it all away like to the dump, and so we thought, what couldn't we just do something like that? We get inventory for our business, we could keep more things out of the landfill, we could make people feel good by exchanging their stuff for a donation that helps the community or helps the environment or both. Why couldn't we do that? And we kind of tossed around the idea all year, but we didn't do it. We didn't actually try. And this year we have a more specific way that we want to try and do it. We've got ideas for signage and how we're going to advertise it and how we're going to talk about it. So that's kind of the specific thing that I want to attempt to do, is have those drop-off events. So that's the sort of the same goal as last year, but a little bit more focused. And I think when you have a focused goal, you're more likely to reach it. Now, as you know, if you've been listening to the podcast from the beginning, my big, hairy, audacious goal is $1 million in sales in a year. This whole podcast has been about the exploration of whether or not that's possible. And this is the first time since I started the podcast that I'm feeling like it is. I do think it is maybe not totally realistic, but feasible that we could sell $1 million in revenue this year. But I'm not going to set that as a goal, because I recognize that we need some new systems to support growth of that magnitude. Now, I did talk at the end of 2022 about how I felt that operationally we had nailed it, that we were doing really well. We had a lot of good processes in place. And we were for the volume we were doing at the time. But I can already see in these last couple of weeks of this new sourcing opportunity that we have, I can already see that some of our systems are not adequate for the amount of inventory that we're already getting. And we're just getting started. And I think as we get into spring and summer, um, this is going to get busier. We're going to be acquiring more, and we I'm prepared for it, but I don't have enough systems in place, and part of that involves having more people to help us process inventory. But this is a really exciting problem to have. So instead of setting that $1 million goal, although I think there's maybe that outside chance it could happen, I don't think it will happen. I'm going to set something far more achievable, which is $600,000 in revenue. And I've estimated that it's going to cost us about $30,000 to achieve that growth and bridge the gap from the revenue that we got to in 2023. And it is a very good return if we do that. That is going to come, that's going to cost us inventory. Like we'll have to pay for inventory acquisition. We'll have to pay for people. In order to get to 600,000 and beyond, we're definitely going to need more people. So I am finally hiring, which is another thing I want to make sure I mention today, that I need a photographer in Vancouver, a product photographer who can also help out around the warehouse. So it's important that that person is strong and can lift heavy things and climb ladders and things like that. So right now I'm looking for somebody who wants to work part-time or sort of project-based. So for example, right now we have a massive inventory of laser discs that just came out of an estate we're doing. And I do not have the capacity to photograph all of that. So that would be a project that I would bring somebody in to do. So I'm looking for somebody who is interested in that sort of part-time project-based work. It is pretty entry level, so you don't have to be an experienced photographer to do this. I'm happy to teach the skills. It's not a super difficult position. I have capacity in my listing helpers to give them more listing projects. So I need to push for more photos through them and pull myself away from doing the photography because I typically do most of it. So I can focus more on networking and relationship building and, of course, picking. So if you know of anybody or you are in Vancouver and you're interested in working with us, please email me, hello@storagewarrior.ca, or get in touch with me on social and we can take it from there. So yes, definitely am hiring somebody ASAP in the Vancouver area. So those are some of the business goals I'm setting regarding the podcast and the YouTube channel. As I already mentioned, I'm setting the same goal of 1,000 YouTube subscribers as I did last year. I'm currently at 326. I didn't build a complete system to grow my channel in 2023, so it didn't grow a lot. Although it did grow a little, so thank you if you're here. I appreciate you. I think I have the systems in place to do it this year. So creating regular content 1 to 3 times per week, as well as guesting on several other podcasts. That's an important thing, is getting in front of other people's audiences. So I have a few people in mind that I plan to approach for this. But if you're listening and if you have a podcast and you're looking for a guest, I would love to come on your podcast and chat about reselling. I think it would be super fun. And I love doing those kinds of interviews. So please reach out to me if you are looking for a guest or want to connect me with somebody who's looking for guests. So that's my progress for last year and the new goals that we're setting for 2024. Will I reach them? I mean, I don't know. It is all about systems, and I hope that I've put the right systems in place to get there. But when I don't reach my goals, I don't beat myself up about it. I just recognize and acknowledge that I didn't quite build the right system. And so I either refine that system and rebuild it to set the same goal, or change the goal. I mean, sometimes you set a goal and then you realize as you're trying to get there that it doesn't make sense. It's no longer in line with your vision or what you want to do with your life or your business. And so you have to change it. And that's totally fine. But that's what I'm setting for 2024. $600,000 in sales, 1,000 YouTube subscribers, and at least one drop-off event where people can declutter their houses and apartments and bring us whatever they want, and we will deal with it in a responsible way and sell what we can. So call to action for you probably will not come as a surprise. I want to know, did you achieve the goals you set for yourself in 2023? And if not, what system are you building to try again to get there? Next episode is going to be a short Just the Tip video episode. I had a great idea for one and then completely forgot what it was. So my Just the Tip should probably be to write things down when you get these good ideas. But anyway, I will remember and it'll be a fun little video for you. Um, so don't forget to come back for that. Subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get your podcasts, which you can do at businessofreselling.com. And don't forget, we're always buying. If you hook us up with a great pick in the Pacific Northwest or British Columbia, you will receive a gift. Like and subscribe at youtube.com/@StorageWarrior podcast. I will link to some articles and resources related to this episode down in the show notes, so make sure you check those out. We'll see you next week.